When leaders have a beef, they usually get their armies to do their fighting for them. Not anymore. In Cage Match, we take two influential leaders of the world and make them go head-to-head, toe-to-toe. In a real Cage Match series, we see which leaders come out on top when it comes to money, power, and politics to see who will be the last leader standing! On one side of the ring, we have 5 years in office as President of France. We have Emmanuel Jean-Michel Macron, hailing from Amiens, France. His opponent, a man that needs no introduction, the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau of Ottawa, Ontario. Money. Canada is no match for Macron's powerhouse in the economy. When we look at them, we know Trudeau came from money. Meanwhile, Macron had to work his way up the ladder. Trudeau's net worth sits at around $85 million, and he has a salary of around roughly $400,000 US, or 503,146 Canadian. He makes enough to own a sprawling 13,300 square foot luxury mansion with a tennis court, wine cellar, and a bowling alley. Meanwhile, Emmanuel Macron's impressive $76 million net worth is self-made, and he earns a salary of $450,000 US, 436,302 francs, or 566,032 Canadian. Along with this remarkable salary, he owns a 12,000 square foot mansion in Paris with a wine cellar, 2 swimming pools, and a tennis court. Their homes might be similar, but it's more impressive to have done it all on your own. For Trudeau, that one's gotta hurt. Macron dropped the tax rate on businesses from 33.3% to 25%. KOing the labor cost by transforming a $20 billion a year tax credit into a permanent reduction on Social Security contributions for employers. GDP growth has rebounded robustly, with $2.603 billion, and the unemployment is down 7%, a rate not seen since 2008. That's a mighty sucker punch coming from France if there ever was one. Canada, on the other hand, run by Trudeau, has had middling to negative results. After adjusting for inflation, growth in GDP per person during the Trudeau period averaged just 0.8%. Job creation shows a similarly low result, nearly half what was experienced by previous governments. When it comes to the economy, Canada has been on the downtrend for years, with a much lower GDP than France, just $1.643 trillion. Macron wins because he's earned his money himself, and the economy in France is much stronger. While Trudeau makes 2 out of 5 vanilla scoops, Macron starts with a powerful 5 out of 5. Power. President Emmanuel Macron won his re-election, beating out his far-right rival in a presidential runoff. He won an estimated 58% of the vote, higher than expected, but a slimmer margin than his previous election. He first came to power, backed by La République En Marche, by topping the ballot in 2017 with 66.1% of the vote. France had the 6th largest defense budget globally, first in the EU, with around $58.7 billion. France has a total manpower of 426,265, currently as part of their army. Active personnel of 368,962 leaves just 57,303 in reserves. They spend about 2.07% of their GDP on military expenditure by current numbers. On the other hand, Trudeau has failed to secure a majority seat for the Liberal Party. However, he recently finally agreed with the NDP, or the New Democratic Party, as his most prominent leftist opposition. This secures his seat and power until 2025. Having first come to office in 2015, He led the Liberals from third place to a majority government, with 39.5% over the Conservatives trailing with 31.9%. Canada's defense budget and the military are much smaller, with minimal power and a lightly funded army, with a budget of just $6.4 billion. Currently, Canada has approximately 68,000 in regular forces and 27,000 in reserves. Their current spending makes up around 1.36% of their GDP. It seems that power is no competition. Trudeau is down and out here. Macron has the power to punch behind him, and he has no issue spending a bit more to show it. Trudeau earns 3 out of 5 chocolate scoops for Canada, and Macron stays strong with 4 out of 5. Politics. When comparing politics, you can definitely see who's doing better. As France's youngest president in history, Macron has not always been the most popular politician. At Neapolitan, we believe that politics are people. The better your politics, the happier your people. That's why France has been growing in their happiness index by around 0.53 per year, currently sitting at about 6.69, ranking the 20th happiest country globally. In the last few years, he's only just managed to retain power by a tight margin, but not because he's famous, more because of the wild unpopularity of his far-right opponents. He first came to power in 2017 with a decent margin, after a political financial scandal in France that favored the leftist party to win against the right and center. Meanwhile, Trudeau maintains a solid happiness index, currently ranking as the 14th happiest country globally. He's been popular as prime minister until recent years, after a few personal scandals and other issues, including the country's financial struggles. As it turns out, Trudeau is more popular abroad than he is in his own country. He came to power as the charismatic leader of the Liberal Party and defeated the incumbent in 2015 with an 85-vote margin. He maintains control, but by a smaller and smaller margin, and some bipartisan strategic deals. With an approval rating of 41%, Macron's hold fell just a single percentage point from 42% in April of 2022, facing the general election. In a general sense, these numbers have been on an uptrend, translating into a slim victory in the general election. 2 is the current maximum for consecutive terms, and Macron is on his second. He's shown his strong appeal against far-right candidates in previous elections. He could go for re-election after a time off. We'll have to see if that's a swing and a miss for now. While historically quick to engage, France has recently taken the lead on conflict prevention, launching strategies for prevention, resilience, and sustainable peace worldwide. Trudeau currently holds a 39% approval and a staggering 57% disapproval, generally on a downtrend from usual. His highest approval ratings were in 2016 and have steadily declined since 2020. With his current deal struck with the NDP, Trudeau will be in power until 2025, ensuring function and predictability within the government. If his numbers don't turn around, Trudeau faces an uphill battle after 2025 to remain in power. He's on his third term as Canadian Prime Minister. It would take some work to turn things around. He still can. Canada and the military has been more committed to multilateralism, only going to war within significant multinational confrontations. They're there when they're needed, but not a moment sooner. This one's gonna hurt. In a near reversal, Canada is generally happier, and Trudeau has the gift of opportunity on his side. He can still pull from behind and remain in power, while France is looking at a slight upset coming in just a few years, whether or not Macron turns things around. France earns 3 out of 5 strawberry scoops, and Canada comes out strong with 4 out of 5. Conclusion. When you add things up, we have a clear leader in 2 out of 3. France has a much more robust military and economy, though Macron is beginning his second consecutive term, which will likely be his last. Canada falters, with a high per-person government spending and a weak economy. And Canada falters that even strong bipartisanship and potential can't face the inevitable KO they face pitted against a force like France. If you like this video, leave us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. That way you'll never miss a World Leader Cage Match! This has been Cage Match by Neapolitan, and we'll see you next time.